Welcome to HH28, where we unravel the secrets of self-discovery and matchmaking. We are Hugh and Heather,
two master holistic guides dedicated to helping you navigate the worlds of numerology, astrology, and personality in pursuit of meaningful connections.
Welcome to another deep dive.
Yeah.
Today, we're going to try to crack open the ESTJ personality type.
Yeah.
You know, we're going beyond those maybe kind of sort of basic stereotypes of rigid rule followers, right?
Right.
To really try to uncover what makes these executive personalities tick.
You know, it's interesting how often we tend to label people just based on those four letters.
Yeah.
But it's really much more complex than that. It's like a complex algorithm.
Right.
There's a lot more going on under the surface.
Absolutely. So let's break it down.
Okay.
ESTJ,
Right.
Extraversion,
Yeah.
sensing, thinking, judging.
Yeah.
What are we really talking about here?
Yeah, so think of those as their default operating system.
Oh, okay.
Like the code that really guides all their interactions.
Yeah.
So extraversion means they're energized by the outside world. Think of like social butterflies. They thrive in groups.
Okay.
Sensing grounds them in the present. So they prioritize facts and tangible details.
Ah, the show me the data type.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Over abstract theories.
Okay. But, I mean, doesn't everyone value facts to some extent?
Well, sure, to an extent, but for ESTJs, it's more than just wanting the evidence. It's like a fundamental part of how they process the entire world.
Okay.
It influences everything.
Wow.
So they trust what they can see, hear, and touch.
Okay.
And that influences everything from how they solve problems to their communication style.
Interesting. So they're very grounded in reality then. What about the thinking preference?
Yeah.
Does that mean they just lack emotions?
Not at all. But they do prioritize logic and objective analysis when they're making their decisions. Fairness is huge for ESTJs.
Okay.
They believe in applying rules consistently. Even if it means making a tough call that might not win them any popularity contests.
Right. So no playing favorites, even for loved ones.
Exactly.
Interesting. Okay, last but not least, we have judging.
Yes.
And I'll admit, it doesn't sound like the most appealing trait, maybe at first glance.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Sounds a little harsh. But in this context, it just means that they value structure and order.
Okay.
Think color-coded calendars, meticulously organized bookshelves.
They love a good label maker.
Yes, exactly. That's their happy place.
Yeah.
They really thrive on planning, list-making, sticking to schedules.
Ultimate planners. So these four preferences, extraversion, sensing, thinking, judging, they're like the building blocks of the ESTJ personality.
Precisely. But just like any set of building blocks, you can create a whole range of structures with them, right?
Right. Yeah.
So it's the combination of these preferences and then shaped by their individual experiences and environments that makes each ESTJ unique.
That is a good point. Because we often fall into this trap of thinking personality types are just fixed and predictable.
Right.
But there's always more to the story.
Exactly.
So with that in mind, what are some of the hallmarks of an ESTJ? What really sets them apart?
Well, one of the first things you'll notice about ESTJs is their natural leadership ability.
Okay.
And I don't just mean that they like, bossing people around.
Yeah.
Although that can definitely be part of it.
No sugarcoating here.
Of course not.
Yeah.
But seriously, ESTJs are drawn to those leadership roles
Yeah.
because they genuinely excel at them. They're decisive, they're organized, and they just have a knack for rallying people around a common goal. They're not afraid to kind of take charge when it's needed. And that sense of fairness that I mentioned often inspires trust in those that they lead.
So they're not just leaders for the sake of it. They actually get things done.
Exactly.
They're the ones you want on your team when you need to see some tangible results.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And their reliability is another defining trait.
Right.
When an ESTJ makes you a promise or commits to something, they follow through, no excuses.
Wow.
And that steadfastness makes them incredibly valuable. As friends, as partners, as colleagues, you always know where you stand with them.
It's like having a rock in a storm, that steady presence you can always count on.
Yes, exactly.
I can see why those traits would be highly sought after in pretty much any area of life.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And let's not forget their practicality. Remember those sensing preferences we talked about?
Yes.
ESTJs are all about the here and now, dealing with tangible issues and finding workable solutions. They're not likely to get bogged down in abstract theories or hypothetical.
They see a problem, they fix it.
Exactly.
No drama, no fuss.
Exactly. They thrive on efficiency. And they have an incredibly strong work ethic. They're not afraid to put in the hours to achieve their goals, and they often inspire others to do the same.
It's like their energy is contagious.
It can be, and their communication style reflects that direct, no-nonsense approach.
Okay.
ESTJs value clarity, and they expect the same from others. They're not afraid to speak their minds, even if it means being blunt or challenging the status quo.
So no beating around the bush with these guys.
Not a chance. They're honest to a fault, and they always make sure that their message is clear.
Okay.
And finally, you can't talk about ESTJs without mentioning their goal-oriented nature. They set their sights on something and they go after it with this unwavering determination.
They sound unstoppable. But let's be honest, nobody's perfect, right? Every strength has its shadow side.
Right.
What are some of the challenges that ESTJs might face because of their personality type?
Yeah.
Where might those strengths become potential pitfalls?
Well, you hit the nail on the head with shadow side. It's not that these traits are inherently negative, but like any strength, if it's overused, it can create blind spots. Take that love of structure and order, for example. In ESTJs, this can manifest as a resistance to change or difficulty adapting to new situations.
So they might miss out on exciting opportunities because they're so set in their ways.
It's a real risk. That desire for things to be just so can make them inflexible.
Okay.
Especially, in the face of unexpected challenges or when other people don't conform to their methods.
And what about their direct communication style? That's not always a smooth road, is it?
You're right. While their honesty is admirable, ESTJs can sometimes come across as blunt or overly critical, particularly to those who are more sensitive or prefer a gentler approach.
Yeah, it's like they forget that not everyone appreciates the straight-talking approach.
Precisely. And that lack of awareness regarding emotional nuances can extend beyond their communication.
Okay.
ESTJs are very much in their heads, focusing on logic and reason. Expressing their own emotions or understanding the feelings of others isn't always their strong suit.
So they might struggle to relate to someone who's deeply emotional or expressive.
It can definitely be a challenge. They might misinterpret emotional expression as weakness or irrational behavior, which can obviously cause friction in relationships.
Okay. So we've got potential challenges with flexibility, expressing emotions, navigating sensitivities.
Right.
What else? What are some other quirks we should know about?
Well, that ESTJ efficiency drive can backfire. Their need for things to run smoothly can lead to impatience, especially when they're dealing with people or processes that they perceive as slow or inefficient or illogical.
So working with someone who's a bit more laid back, maybe someone who thrives on brainstorming and exploration, that could lead to some tension.
Absolutely. The ESTJ might feel like things are moving at a snail's pace, and that frustration can lead to them taking over or becoming overly critical, which of course breeds conflict.
Patience is definitely a virtue for ESTJs to cultivate then.
For sure. And because they so naturally gravitate towards those leadership roles, it's important for them to be aware of their tendency to become authoritarian.
So it's that fine line between being a strong, decisive leader and becoming a bit of a control freak.
Exactly. Their desire to have things done a certain way, which often stems from a good place, right? Wanting things to be efficient can be perceived as controlling if they're not careful.
It's all about finding that balance.
Yes.
Right. Leveraging their natural strengths while being mindful of those potential pitfalls. But that begs the question, how do ESTJs navigate the often messy world of relationships? Do those same strengths and challenges play out in how they connect with others?
Now that, my friend, is the million-dollar question.
Right.
And luckily for you, we've got some fascinating insights from our sources on how ESTJs navigate the realms of love, friendship, and beyond.
I'm excited for this next part because, let's be honest, who isn't curious about the love lives of ESTJs?
Right. We've explored their strengths, their potential pitfalls.
Right.
But how does that translate to matters of the heart?
Right. I mean, do those same traits that make them like successful leaders and reliable friends also lead to fulfilling romantic relationships?
Remember, it's about finding a partner who not only complements their strengths, but also provides a counterbalance to their potential weaknesses. It's about synergy.
Okay.
About two individuals coming together to create something more dynamic and harmonious than either one could achieve alone.
Okay, so less about like fixing each other
Right.
and more about appreciating the unique strength each person brings to the table.
Exactly. And when we look at the personality types that tend to gravitate towards ESTJs,
Yeah.
it's really fascinating to see how these dynamics play out. According to our sources, ESTJs often find themselves drawn to other judging types,
Okay.
particularly ISTJs and ISFJs.
So those who share that love of structure and organization,
Precisely.
birds of a feather and all that.
ISTJs, with their shared appreciation for tradition, stability, well-defined rules, often make excellent partners for ESTJs
Okay.
because they understand that need for order, that meticulous approach to life, and they appreciate that unwavering reliability that ESTJs bring to the table.
It's like they speak the same language, both literally and metaphorically.
Yes.
But what about ISFJs? How do they fit into the equation?
ISFJs. They bring a different but equally valuable energy
Okay.
to the relationship.
Okay.
While they share that judging preference for structure and planning, they lead with their feeling function, which brings a nurturing and supportive element to the partnership.
So they provide that warmth and emotional depth that ESTJs, with their focus on logic and efficiency, maybe might not naturally express.
Exactly. They balance each other out beautifully.
Yeah.
The ESTJ provides stability and a sense of security, while the ISFJ brings warmth, compassion, and a listening ear when the going gets tough.
Okay, so ISTJs and ISFJs seem like strong contenders for a harmonious ESTJ love connection.
Yes.
What about other types? I mean, are those the only possibilities for a successful relationship?
Of course not. Human connection is far too complex
Right.
to be reduced to just a few personality combinations.
It's of course. Yeah.
However, there are other pairings that, according to our sources,
Yeah.
often lead to that satisfying click.
Oh,
ESFJs, with their warm, outgoing nature and genuine love for connecting with others, can be a delightful match for ESTJs.
really? I would have thought the ESFJ's spontaneity might clash with the ESTJ's need for structure.
It certainly can if they're not mindful.
Right.
But that potential clash is also what makes the pairing so fascinating. The ESFJ encourages the ESTJ to loosen up a little, to embrace the joy of spontaneity,
Yeah.
while ESTJ provides a grounding presence that helps the ESFJ channel their boundless energy into meaningful pursuits.
So it's about finding that sweet spot where their differences, instead of creating conflict, actually enhance the relationship.
Precisely. It's about recognizing that no one personality type has it all figured out.
Right.
We all have our strengths, our areas where we shine, and areas where we could use a little support.
That's a good reminder for any relationship, regardless of personality type.
Right.
It's not about finding a perfect match.
Right.
It's about appreciating the unique strengths each person brings to the table
Yes,
and being willing to learn and grow together.
absolutely.
Speaking of learning and growing, how do ESTJs approach friendships?
Well, just like in romantic relationships, ESTJs value loyalty, honesty, and dependability in their friends. They're not interested in superficial connections or fleeting friendships.
Okay.
They're in it for the long haul.
No fair weather friends for these loyal souls.
Exactly. They're drawn to people who share their strong moral compass, those who are true to their word and unwavering in their support. And when we look at the types that often gravitate towards ESTJs in friendship,
Yeah.
we see some familiar faces. ESFJs, once again, top the list.
Of course.
Their shared love for social events, their ability to create a warm and welcoming atmosphere,
Yeah.
and their genuine interest in others makes them a natural fit for ESTJs, who, despite their sometimes serious demeanor, genuinely enjoy connecting with others.
It's like the ESFJ brings the party to the ESTJ's perfectly organized world.
Exactly. And then we have the ENTJs.
Okay.
This pairing might seem a bit more unexpected,
Yeah.
but when you delve into their cognitive functions, it makes perfect sense.
Cognitive functions. Okay, you've piqued my interest.
Okay.
Break it down for me.
Well, both ESTJs and ENTJs share the same top two cognitive functions, extroverted thinking and introverted sensing,
Okay.
but in reverse order.
What does that mean exactly? How does that play out in real life?
It means that while both types are logical, decisive, driven to achieve their goals, they approach those goals from slightly different angles.
Okay.
ESTJs, with their dominant sensing function, are masters of efficiency and organization. They excel at creating systems and structures that optimize productivity.
So they're the ones who can walk into a chaotic situation and immediately start, implementing order.
Precisely. Now, ENTJs, with their dominant thinking function, they're big picture thinkers, always strategizing, innovating, and pushing boundaries. They're the visionaries who inspire those around them with their bold ideas.
So you've got the master of execution, the ESTJ,
Yes.
and the grand strategist, the ENTJ.
Yes. And when those two forces combine, magic happens.
That makes so much sense. They challenge and inspire each other.
Yes.
Pushing each other to achieve even greater things.
Exactly.
It's like a power couple of friendship.
Right.
Okay, I'm sold on the ENTJ.
Good.
Who else makes the cut for the ESTJ's inner circle?
Well, this last one might surprise you even more.
Okay.
The adventurous and spontaneous ESTP.
Wait, really? The ESTP, the ultimate, like, live-in-the-moment type,
Yes.
forms a strong bond with the structured and planned ESTJ.
Yes.
How does that work?
It's a classic case of opposites attracting,
Okay.
but in a way that genuinely benefits both individuals,
Okay.
ESTPs, with their love for action, excitement, and their ability to think on their feet. Introduce an element of spontaneity and adventure into the ESTJ's life.
So they help them break free from that rigid routine and embrace a little chaos.
And the ESTJ, in turn, provides a grounding presence for the often impulsive ESTP.
Okay.
They help them channel their boundless energy into more focused pursuits and offer a sense of stability that the ESTP, despite their independent nature, secretly craves.
Wow. I never would have guessed that pairing, but it makes so much sense when you explain it.
Yeah.
It's like they balance each other out beautifully, each providing something that the other lacks.
Precisely. And that, my friend, is the beauty of human connection. It's in those seemingly opposite energies that we often find the greatest opportunities for growth and fulfillment.
I love that. So we've covered love and friendship.
Yes.
What about those structured environments where ESTJs often thrive?
Right.
How do these personality dynamics play out in the workplace?
Well, as you might imagine, ESTJs often excel in roles that require leadership, organization, and a strong work ethic.
Right. Makes sense.
They're drawn to positions where they can implement systems, create order, and see tangible results.
What about their interactions with colleagues? Do those same personality pairings that work well in love and friendship translate to the professional realm?
Absolutely. In fact, some of the most successful work collaborations happen when ESTJs team up with individuals who complement their strengths and provide a counterbalance to their potential weaknesses.
Okay, so who are these, like, ideal work companions for ESTJs? Spill the tea.
Well, you might not be surprised to hear that ENTJs, once again,
The power couple strikes again.
they do. And it's no wonder why.
Yeah.
Their shared ambition, their logical approach to problem solving, and their unwavering drive to succeed make them a force to be reckoned with in the professional world.
It's like they can conquer any industry with their combined powers.
Right. And the beauty of their partnership lies in their ability to recognize and appreciate each other's strengths. ENTJs, with their visionary thinking,
Yeah.
often come up with these grand ideas, while ESTJs, with their exceptional organizational skills and focus on execution, excel at turning those ideas into concrete plans and seeing them through to completion.
It's like the saying, vision without execution is just hallucination.
Exactly. They complement each other perfectly.
Okay, what other personality types thrive alongside ESTJs in the workplace?
ISTJs, with their meticulous attention to detail, their unwavering reliability, and their respect for established procedures, often make excellent colleagues for ESTJs.
So they're the ones who make sure every I is dotted and every T is crossed, ensuring that no detail is overlooked.
Precisely. They thrive in structured environments and take pride in their ability to follow through on their commitments, making them incredibly valuable assets to any team,
Yeah.
especially one led by an ESTJ who values efficiency and results.
It's like having a built-in quality control system.
Exactly. And then, of course, we can't forget about the ISFJs.
Right.
Remember how we talked about their supportive and nurturing presence in relationships?
Yeah.
Those same qualities make them invaluable in the workplace, especially when working alongside ESTJs.
So they bring that human touch to the often rigid world of business.
Exactly. They're the ones who foster a sense of camaraderie and teamwork, ensuring that everyone feels heard and appreciated.
Okay.
They excel at creating a harmonious and supportive work environment, which can be incredibly valuable for ESTJs, despite their good intentions, can sometimes come across as a bit intense.
So they help soften the edges a bit.
Precisely. They remind ESTJs to slow down,
Yeah.
to consider the emotional well-being of their team, and to create a work environment that fosters not just productivity, but also genuine connection and collaboration.
It's amazing how these seemingly subtle personality differences can have such a profound impact on our interactions, whether in love, friendship, or the workplace.
Absolutely.
But we've thrown a lot of personality pairings at our listeners today.
Yep.
Before we move on, let's take a step back and explore a concept that's often debated in the world of personality types: nature versus nurture.
The age-old question. Are we born with certain personality traits pre-programmed, or are we shaped by our environment and experience? A fascinating topic, and one that's particularly relevant to our discussion of ESTJs.
And speaking of plays a role, that's exactly what I kind of want to unpack in this final part of our deep dive. Because let's be honest, all this knowledge is great, but what's the takeaway for our listeners? How can understanding ESTJs, or even recognizing those traits in themselves, actually be useful in everyday life?
The million-dollar question. Well, I think it boils down to this: knowledge is power, but only when we put it into action. Right?
Yeah.
Knowing the why behind someone's behavior can completely change how we interact with them.
It's like you said earlier, it's like having that secret decoder ring.
Right.
Especially when you're dealing with an ESTJ in your life.
Right.
Whether it's your boss, a colleague, a family member, even that friend who always insists on planning the entire trip itinerary down to the minute.
Right. Because those seemingly rigid behaviors, they often stem from a place of just wanting things to run smoothly.
Right.
Wanting to achieve that goal efficiently and fairly.
Right.
Once we understand that underlying motivation, their actions make a lot more sense.
And instead of getting frustrated or taking it personally, we can adjust our own approach.
Exactly.
So, for example, if you're working with an ESTJ, instead of springing last-minute changes on them, you might say, hey, I know you value a good plan. Can we schedule some time to discuss a new strategy I'm exploring?
Exactly. You're speaking their language. You're respecting their need for that structure while still making space for, new ideas or flexibility.
Yeah.
That's key. Because ESTJs, despite their reputation for rigidity, are often open to new approaches if they're presented in a way that aligns with their values.
It's about finding that common ground.
Yes.
That understanding that just because someone operates differently doesn't mean they're wrong or difficult.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And this works both ways. If you're an ESTJ listening to this and thinking, yep, that's me, take a moment to reflect on how your natural tendencies might be perceived by other people.
Because that self-awareness is gold.
It is.
Recognizing those potential blind spots, like that tendency towards bluntness or that need for control, can be a game changer in your relationship.
Absolutely. It's not about changing who you are. It's about adding tools to your toolbox.
Right, yeah.
That awareness allows you to say, okay, I know my directness sometimes rubs people the wrong way. How can I communicate this in a way that's both honest and considerate?
It's about flexibility. It's about recognizing that different situations, different people might require you to adjust your approach ever so slightly to build those, stronger, more fulfilling connections.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Because at the end of the day, understanding these personality dynamics isn't about labeling people or putting them in boxes.
Right.
It's about building bridges, fostering empathy, and appreciating the unique strengths that each person brings to the table.
And speaking of unique strengths, that brings us back nicely to that nature versus nurture concept we touched upon earlier.
Right.
We explored how even within a specific personality type, like ESTJ, there's a whole spectrum of experiences that shape who they become.
Right. And that's just crucial to remember because it reminds us that personality isn't destiny.
Yeah.
It's not this life sentence. We have the power to choose how those predispositions manifest in our lives.
It's like having a set of raw ingredients.
Okay.
Flour, sugar, eggs. You can make a cake, you can make cookies, you can even make a savory souffle.
Right.
It's all in how you combine those ingredients, how you adjust to different ovens, different climates.
I love that analogy. And it speaks to the incredible potential for growth and evolution that exists within each of us.
Yeah.
Just because you have a natural inclination towards, say, structure and planning.
You might embrace that structured side while also cultivating your creative side.
Right.
Maybe you're the ESTJ who surprises everyone by taking up improv comedy or becoming a master chef experimenting with bold flavor combinations.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And on the flip side, if you're someone who naturally gravitates towards feelings and intuition, that doesn't mean you're destined to be like swept away by every emotional tide.
Right. You can learn to tap into your logical mind, to make those tough decisions when needed, to find a balance between heart and head.
Precisely. Because true growth, true fulfillment,
Yeah.
often lies outside those comfortable boxes that we create for ourselves. It's in those moments of stretching, of challenging our own assumptions, that we discover the incredible range of our own potential.
So if there's one thing we want our listeners to take away from this deep dive, it's this. Embrace the complexity.
Yes.
Whether you're an ESTJ, you love an ESTJ, or you're still trying to figure out where you fit in this whole personality landscape, remember that we're all works in progress. We're all capable of evolving and surprising ourselves.
Beautifully said. And on that note of endless possibility, we've reached the end of our ESTJ deep dive. A huge thank you to our amazing listeners for joining us on this journey of self-discovery.
And until next time, keep asking those intriguing questions.
Yes.
Keep exploring those hidden depths.
Yes.
And keep diving deeper into the fascinating world of human nature.